This week's Lionheart Player of the Week is none other than Finley Carey from Team Bingo. Right? Bingo. Man, what a great week Finley had. Her coach said, aggressive play this week, good effort through the whole game. He deliberately passed the ball to his teammates several times, directly resulting in a goal for Team Bingo. And the word pass, not often associated with a pre-K game, but Finley pulled that off. Great job, Finley. You're our Lionheart Player of the Week. Lionheart, what a tremendous organization that is. They've been providing childcare for over 10 years. They are a God-centered organization. Go check them out at lionheartkid.org.
Yep. And our coach of the week for this soccer season is none other than Jake Kaler. Jake coaches 2 teams, and man, he's an expert on 4- and 5-year-olds. He coaches the Tornadoes, and he also coaches the Strikers. And to see him interact with those little bitties, the way that he's able to wrangle them and the way that he uses games as a focal point to teach skill is none other than a masterpiece in 4- and 5-year-old soccer. So, Jake Kaler, you are this week's Coach of the Week, sponsored by Exquisite Irrigation and Lawns. If you're looking for a top-tier landscaping and irrigation company in the DFW area, visit Exquisite Lawns on their website. Let's get into it. Welcome to episode
39.
Yep.
39, which was 38 more than what they said we would do. They were wrong. So big week of soccer, makeup games this week. Man, the rain has just played and toyed with us from the very beginning of this season. But
when they said April shower, spring May flowers.
Yeah, but it's, hey, we're still going strong. We're in the middle of soccer season. And today, continuing on with our theme of youth sports and how it applies at home, we have a very special guest. Yep. I will let you introduce him.
Yeah, this is none other than Scott Parlin, which is also my brother-in-law. Scott, what's up?
Not much.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Scott, you have 3 boys.
Yes,
right?
I do.
How old are they?
They are 22, 20, and 14.
And your oldest is going to get married, right?
Yeah, in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Kind of wild, yeah.
How you feeling about that?
I'm excited for him. It's awesome. She's an awesome girl.
Yeah.
It's super exciting.
And Brooke is looking forward to having a daughter finally.
Yes, having a daughter finally.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So she's excited.
Yeah. And you also you've been in education for how many years?
28. This is my 28th year to teach. That's crazy. And coach.
And this is also your last year.
This is my last. I have
congratulations.
3.5 weeks left.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to a new career, whatever God has planned.
There you go.
Basically. Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's been a fun 28 years. Been a challenging 28 years. Been rewarding 28 years.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's been 28 years. I still remember my first day. But I'm excited.
But you're ready. You're ready for the
Absolutely.
next chapter.
Yeah, people have asked me all the time, am I sure? Am I sure? Am I sure? No question.
Yeah.
So,
Have you also coached for all those 28 years?
All 28, I've been a coach. So,
Your first year, what did you do as a coach?
First year, I was, so I got hired at South Carolina High School where I student taught. I graduated from Dallas Baptist University. In my last semester, I student taught at SGP, which is literally, 2 miles from there, if that much. And was in a math class and a PE class, and the head coach left me in the PE class with all those kids by myself one time, and he came back and was like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "I've been trying to get you hired." Long story short, he hired me as an assistant basketball coach, and I also had to do baseball and football that year.
Yeah.
Like every new coach has to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
right.
Worked out. I loved my 12 years at SGP for sure.
Todd, did you know that Scott played under Bayet?
I did not know that.
DBU?
I did. I played 2 years of soccer at DBU under Coach Bayet.
Now, when was that? What years were?
Oh gosh, that would have been 94 and 94.
Wow.
91, 92, 93 and 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It was
Wow.
fun. It was a blast. I met some lifelong friends.
I bet.
And we're still friends.
Yeah.
We communicated the other day, or Easter. We texted each other. Yeah, it's really neat.
So in all of those years, is basketball your favorite?
Favorite to coach for sure.
Okay. All right.
My favorite sport will probably always be college football, but basketball by far is my favorite to coach.
Well, and why is that? What do you
so involved in it.
Yeah.
With timeouts and playing calls and standing up all the time.
Yeah.
I can't think of another sport where the coach is involved more each possession than, and football is too, but football has a plethora of coaches.
Yeah. You got coordinators that are doing, right.
And then baseball just kind of happens out there. I love baseball, but
you're right. I've never really thought about it like that, but that's true. Like the head coach is involved in so much every trip down the court.
Everything. Yeah. And that's what made it fun.
Yeah. So. Makes sense.
What about the favorite sport to coach your boys as they grew up?
Whatever they were playing. And I don't say that to be a great dad. Whatever they were playing, I was going to coach them or try to coach them or help coach them or help their coach, be an assistant or whatever.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
We're going to evaluate you as a dad here in a second.
It's fine. No. It's good. No. You'd be better off asking them than me.
Yeah. Right.
Todd, did you know that, Scott, you're on Martin's championship team the basketball season? Were you not? Or was that somebody else?
You mean like state championship?
Yeah.
They've never won a basketball state championship. They won.
So who is the team? Weren't you on the team that you keep telling me about or that you keep bragging about?
I was on a really good team.
Yes, there you go.
But we got beat out in the regional tournament.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We did not make it past the regionals. And they've never, unfortunately, I keep up with Martin basketball still. They've never made it to state in basketball. They have in baseball.
Yeah.
And they won it in baseball.
Did you know that Dean talks about you a lot in regards to that team that you're on?
That was a great team.
Yeah.
I did not know he talked about me a lot. I do remember him cheering for my friends cheering. It was awesome to play high school sports, especially down the street at Martin.
He was a great athlete.
Oh, no.
He was.
Great athletes don't usually become coaches. Bad athletes. That's why I became a coach.
Man.
Yes.
Well, tell us about your boys for a second. You coach them, right?
I coached them a lot when they were younger. I never got to really coach them in high school. They weren't old enough when I was coaching basketball.
Was that your choice to not coach them once they got to high school? Like, was there a certain age where you're like, no, you know what? I'm capped out. I'm going to stop right here and let somebody else coach them. Or was it just the way things worked out?
It was the way things worked out. Yeah. I would have coached them in high school had I still been doing basketball or football or baseball like they played, or even if they played golf. Yeah. It was just the way things worked out.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about your boys for a second. How are they different in the way that they processed sports or how they worked?
Well, the oldest, Landry, was a little bit taller than some of his teammates. He was definitely faster. He was always one of the fastest kids on his team. Connor, who is our middle son, is definitely more skilled little athlete, but wasn't quite as tall, wasn't quite as fast as Landry. Very good hand-eye coordination, just very strategic, smart, kind of like a coach out there. Whereas Landry, the oldest one, just went 100 miles an hour nonstop. Connor was a little more strategic, and he needed to be. He was a quarterback too, as well as a baseball player. Whereas Landry was just a fast free safety and go tackle somebody. And then there's Nate, our 8th grader, headed into high school next year. We don't know what to think about him. He competes, though. He plays hard. He's got some, hopefully, a little bit of both of their talents. We'll see. We'll find out. We don't know. You can't tell yet till they're fully grown, right? Kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah. Did your boys ever play club ball?
Yeah, they did. I mean, kind of have. I started them out in city ball or rec ball or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, everything seems to go the way of club or rec. I definitely didn't play them year round. I don't necessarily believe in one sport year round. I wanted them playing sports all year, but we kind of went with the seasons. I didn't overdo it, yet I didn't. I'm thankful for the club sports that they played and the coaches that they had, but I wasn't trying to make them professional athletes at the age of 11 or 12 or 9 or 10 like some people do. More power to them, but that was never my goal. I just wanted them to be good high school players, which the oldest 2 were.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
So.
You've got obviously a lot of experience in the coaching world, and one of the things that we've talked about extensively on this podcast has been rec ball versus club or travel ball. And when we were preparing for this podcast, what was the term you used? pay for play or
pay for play.
Yeah. Which sometimes
it's a money banking business.
Yeah.
It is huge.
Yeah. So,
and it does good.
What would you tell the average parent out there about, and I don't think you are either. I don't think either of us are bashing travel ball.
No, I'm not at all.
But what would your advice be with your experience on parents that are getting ready to sign their kid up for that?
Well, the problem with, if you say pre-high school, is some kids have grown, some kids haven't.
Right.
So I've seen some unbelievable kids at 12 and 13 never play varsity sport.
Yeah.
And then I've seen some kids who were the 9th and 10th kid on their team be all district players.
Right.
So you can't, give them a scholarship at 10, but you can't write them off either.
Right. Yeah.
There's just such a growth difference between kids. Yeah, that would be my biggest advice, is not to get to, hey, my kid's going to make money someday or go to free college, or hey, my kid's never going to make it.
Yeah.
That couldn't be more opposite, especially under the age, especially until they get to about 8th or 9th grade. You just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Right. So. Do you feel like travel ball is starting to hurt the rec leagues now because so many kids are going towards that way? Or,
I mean, it's just kind of considered all rec ball now. If all rec ball is everybody's going to travel ball, then everybody's playing. Therefore, it kind of all is rec.
Yeah. Right.
It's
That's a different perspective.
Yeah.
It's everybody does it. Therefore, I guess it's all considered recreation to a point.
Right.
Yeah, definitely not against travel ball. I'm against parents spending lots of money.
Yeah.
But I have had some parents tell me, hey, that's just our way of spending time with our family. And you know what? Therefore, go spend that money.
Yeah.
I got no complaints on that at all. Or go spend that whole weekend traveling to Florida to play a sport or flat, I'm not against them. I never really wanted to do it because we had 2 other kids, but I knew somebody that was their only child, and they were like, well, how do y'all do that or afford that? I'm like, well, we just family time. And, I was like, I'd never thought of it like that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually reading some stuff on Instagram. I know you shouldn't go to the comments, but I went to the comments because I was watching a deal where a guy was talking about exactly this topic. And a lot of the comments were, hey, this is our family bonding time. This is how we get together, and then somebody threw out, well, what about church? And then it took a hard left and things went sideways. But for that average family, a lot of them were saying, look, we know we pay a lot of money, but, as a family, we get to bond together. We bond with other families. And so that is the other side of it, the other side of the argument that people are going to bring forward.
Yeah, I think, that's definitely a different side of the argument. I think it's based on opinion as well. Like, can families really afford to do that? Or are they just going into debt? Like, that's a whole nother topic that we really haven't touched.
Right.
But yeah, at the end of the day, are you investing time in your kids spiritually when you're also investing in them athletically? I don't know. Are you? I'm not sure. How does that time play out on the weekends?
Yeah, and even within the argument about, when you throw church out on Sunday, when you throw that into the argument, a lot of people that are even raised in church, want their families to be in church, are like, hey, we have church, we have a get together. It doesn't have to be at the church building. And as I'm reading it, I was like, oh, this is really hurting my heart to see what some of these people feel about what should be happening on Sundays. So it's just it's a constant thing that we discuss on this podcast. What's the right thing to do with your kids? Where do you put them? How do you go about it? So yeah, it's interesting to get your take on it.
I don't know if there's a right answer.
Yeah.
I love competition. So when my kids are playing on a field or on a court, there's nothing more fun for me to watch. So if they were doing that at 8, 9, 10 years old, whether it was a Tuesday night game down the street in Arlington or Mansfield versus a weekend tournament, in Colleyville, it was fun to watch. Did we miss church? Yes. Are they all extremely involved in church now? Yes.
Right.
So we came out on the correct side of that.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of church missed, and I don't want to say it's not okay, but I don't have a good answer for that, if that makes any sense.
I don't know that anybody.
Yeah,
really
I don't
does.
think anybody did. And I don't know if I could even necessarily advise somebody. Now, if you're playing every weekend, that's getting a little bit out of control for just health reasons. But it was 1 or 2 tournaments a month during the season for my kids. It was never more than that. They didn't do the basketball travel, but they definitely did baseball.
Yeah.
And football doesn't really have it yet, though they're trying.
Yeah.
Some of their leagues.
Yeah, I thought about something when I was going through all of that this week, and that is, I missed a lot of church when I was working deep nights because I would, we worked 12-hour shift, and so I wouldn't get home until 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had been up, for 15 hours at that point, and so I would come home and crash, and I know that number one, I was failing as a father because I wasn't coming home and willing myself to get up and be the example to my boys and, with my wife to go to church. But as I've talked about on this podcast before, but I was sure up for the 12 o'clock kickoff. So there was some failures I feel about that. But more importantly, like my relationship with God was nowhere near what it should have been during that time that I was missing church. Was God in my life? Of course. I would tell you he's always been in my life. But I think it wasn't that I was missing church. It was that I was missing the relationships with men that I should have been having during that time. Yeah. So, when we talk about this, with regards to select ball or travel ball, it's not necessarily just the church that you're missing. You're missing out on all of those opportunities to share life with people that could change, the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, that's good. Scott, you guys said that you missed some Sundays, and now on the back end, all of your boys are in church and have a relationship with Jesus. Like,
that's right.
What, I would attribute that to the parents that you and Brooke are to those boys. Like, what would you attribute how they've turned out so far? I mean, Landry, like he's on his way to med school, right? About to get married. Mm-hmm. Connor is doing great in real estate, right? And Nate's about to start.
Still
high
don't know
school,
about Nate.
No, what do you attribute that to? I mean, if this podcast is about winning with the home team, how has your home team won throughout the course of youth sports and life in general?
Well, I'll use home team in 2 terms. I think what you mean is our 5, my wife and I and our 3 boys, but the home team of our friends, our age with similar age kids, I think all 4 or 5 of us couples would say we wouldn't be where we are without each other. Mm-hmm. So it was our adult friends that we kind of all kept each other. Yeah. I don't say the word together, but kept each other focused on God first versus anything else. And I think my boys saw that. I think they still see that, the importance of relationships. So back to your point, if you can have those relationships on a baseball program, on a basketball program, then that is fun. Yeah. Probably few and far in between.
Right.
But so I attribute that and an incredible family as well. Yeah. Just everybody. I mean, we were raised in a Christian family, so I think my boys had seen that. My wife's parents, same way, they saw that. A lot of prayer from my wife. She's amazing. She did a lot of the spiritual praying and upbringing, and I did a lot of the discipline, I guess, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just blessed, fortunate, lucky, thankful. Yeah. I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer outside of just thankful for that.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to your experience, coaching varsity sports, what's maybe 1 or 2 things that you've learned over the course of 28 years coaching high school ball?
Well, it has changed drastically in about the last 5 to 10 years. I think every kid's goal when they play varsity sport is to probably get a scholarship or get there somehow, even though that's like 1% of kids who even play on their varsity team. But the amount, and I can only speak for Texas and the Metroplex, which is the only place I've coached and taught, the amount of kid to kid per different school is astonishing to me. UIL is kind of trying to get a hold of that.
Explain what you mean by that.
Kids just transferring to this school because of a coach, maybe because of a friend, maybe because they legitimately moved.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first started coaching, those 7th grade kids that I went and watched were going to be my basketball players.
Right.
It couldn't be farther from that now in the big schools, the big 5 and 6A schools. Probably the same in some of the smaller towns, but I hate it because I love, seeing those kids continue to grow up together, but it's completely not like that anymore at the big school level. So meaning, the kids are not the same. The kids you see in junior high are not your team by high school. Either they leave or somebody else moves in or for the most part, for the big sports, for the football, the basketball, and the baseballs, I would say that's the biggest change I've seen and that's really gotten drastic in the last 10 years.
What drives that the most? Is it because kids want to go where they can play?
I think that drives it. I think just the parents not understanding that you learn way more from your quote failures versus your or just thinking that coach is not good enough or that teammate is not good enough,
and then bailing on the first opportunity,
instead of seeing that as a teaching tool to like, hey, maybe this kid moves in, you got to work harder, or maybe this kid will move in, you better always work harder if you're a starter now or whatnot.
Right.
This is a transient sport. The big sports, the football, the basketball, the baseball, maybe not so much for golf like I coach now, but definitely and just parents not being able to understand that the coach wants what's best for them.
Right.
I'll never forget, and I tell people this a lot, and they just a lot of them look at me weird. I just never forget Landry's, my oldest son's football coach, who I think this was even before I started working at Legacy. Maybe I was already there. I don't remember. Just chewing him out on a sideline. He wasn't a cusser. Just chewing him out, letting him know that he did something wrong, whatever. And it just brought joy to my heart because I was like, he is just wishing the best for my kid and wants what's best for my kid.
Yeah.
And of course, having a dad as a coach, it was yes sir, go out and try to do better. But people can't see it that way.
Yeah.
If they're not, maybe I couldn't have seen it that way had I not been a coach.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a parent's fault, but they see that as he hates my son or he hates my daughter or she hates my daughter. And maybe, that's not the right place. Let me go get an address here and move, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's changed a lot. Whereas in the past, back to your original question, they're not going anywhere. Chew them out. They either decide to stay or play, the old Hoosiers movie where it's like, no, my son needs to apologize. We're not leaving. It can't be like that. I realize it's not like that, but it was better when it was.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, and obviously we know now, the same is true for, the collegiate sports as well. Do you think the scene in high school, what you're referring to, is driving the collegiate levels and all the changes with the NILs and the transfer portals and all those things? Or is it two different entities? Because when I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, there's a lack of commitment, there's a lack of toughness, there's a lack of, all of these things, so let's jump ship. And we also see that in the collegiate realm as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a different beast there because, a kid's just getting offered more money, right? Yeah. And so it's a little bit different, but would love your thoughts on that.
On whether or not I agree with that?
Are the two related?
Sadly, I think high school sports is going to be next to non-existent here in the next decade or so because
that's a big statement. Yeah.
Flesh that out. You heard it first here.
A college coach's job is to recruit the best. They get hired and fired whether or not they win or lose.
Yeah.
Not really the case for high school sports. To a point maybe, but not near as much.
Yeah.
And because of the new rules of being able to transfer, and being able to now, just a rule passed at the beginning of this year, where you can go 2 years of junior college and 4 years of college. Why would you ever recruit a 17 or 18-year-old? I wouldn't hire one if you could recruit a 20-year-old with experience.
Yeah.
There's not near as many college coaches on campus that there used to be when I first started coaching.
Yeah.
I hate it. I understand it from their perspective. Like I said, why get a kid who's proven at a junior college or was at this college.
Yeah.
So I hate to say that,
but
I cannot imagine that high school sports will be that relevant for colleges, which is pretty much everybody's goal is to get to college. Not everybody's, but a lot of parents' goal is to get their kid to college because it helps for a scholarship, and I don't blame them financially. But I don't know.
The junior colleges still have to get players, though, right?
So that is the question. But yes, they can. But they can get from their portals too, and they can now get a kid who played 1 year of Division II and didn't like it and came back to junior college.
Gotcha.
I need to check on that rule, but I do think that. But there's so many junior college, and the junior colleges can afford to wait for a kid to say, "No, I'm not taking that. I'm not going to go to that university. I'll go to this junior college." Whereas the big schools, the big colleges, they start recruiting when a kid's a junior or sophomore. There'll be enough left over for all the junior colleges.
Right.
And getting a kid to commit to a junior college, which a lot of the facilities are way worse than high schools.
Right. Yeah.
You don't really want to jump on them too soon because they might turn you out pretty soon. They're going to take advantage of getting some of the leftovers. I guess. The junior colleges are great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I do think that NIL is concerned about all the kids getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
I saw an interview about 2 years ago from the Big Ten commissioner. I was happened to be flipping channels, and he's like, "You don't understand how many kids are getting lost, and they just wasted a 4-year scholarship or a 1-year scholarship rollover, and we never hear about them.
Yeah,
and it's kind of sad because they had an opportunity at 18 years old, and then maybe they flushed it away, and they tried to gamble on themselves, which I respect that.
Yeah,
but did they leave to gamble on themselves, or did they leave because they weren't tough enough, or strong-willed enough, or couldn't handle not playing, couldn't handle not being the best player like they were on their high school team? I don't know. I don't have the answers.
Yeah,
but I don't love what I think the answer is.
No, I mean I can feel what you're saying, the direction of what you're saying, because I mean we've been talking about this. I have a junior baseball player, high school, and more and more I'm like, man, what do you want to do with your life? Like when you figure out the percentages,
absolutely,
and I mean, and the way college sports is going, and the whole process, he's a good baseball player, but like we're starting to gravitate more and more away from that college experience for athletics, and more towards what do you want to do with your life,
right?
And it's just it's almost like you said, within the last 5 years, I've kind of felt that shift for more and more parents that are saying,
no question,
no way.
Well, and they own you at the college,
yes,
and they should, because they're paying for you. Like exactly. I'm not opposed to them owning you,
right?
Because you're getting a free for some, half for others. You're getting a really good education at the way smaller cost than some people. But
I think a lot of parents are seeing like in Colin's case, there's so much money out there academically to get you through school, and it's like, why don't we go this route? Like there's so much more money available for your test scores or your GPA and that kind of thing.
Well, and I think, and arrogantly, I wanted my sons to play. I wanted to be able to say my sons played college ball. And I think they were both all district players in their sport. Landry was mainly football. Connor was mainly baseball. Could they have gone and played somewhere? 100%.
Yeah.
But Landry wanted to be a doctor since he was like 6 years old. You can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Connor, sadly, the COVID year really tore him down on high school and education. And he was like, I think I can do this on myself. I don't want to go into debt kind of deal for college because it's not cheap.
Right.
So, and neither one of them seemed to quote miss it. I know I did. I chose not to play basketball. I wasn't that good, but I could have probably again played somewhere small, junior, whatever, real small.
Yeah.
And I did miss it, which is why then my buddies were like, just come to DBU and you can play soccer, which was non-scholarship and all that. And I had a blast.
Yeah.
So I do fear that maybe they didn't have that or won't have that, but they're
Yeah.
going to be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So was it ever a conversation that with your boys that they wanted to play college ball and then they decided they weren't going to go that route?
I mean, I think Landry probably would have, the older one, but his junior year was COVID when you try to go to the summer camps to work out with some of the other high school kids to get recognized. This is pre-NIL, so we were right there on the edge. He couldn't go. They didn't have him, so he never knew if he was any good outside of the team he was on, because you can't really, there's not really football club. It's pretty much so. But again, it worked out. I don't think. And they own you. He wouldn't have been able to be a doctor and do that full time. I don't think. I don't know. If anybody could have, he would have. I don't mean that arrogantly, but and then Connor pretty much just loved playing for the fun and the camaraderie. One time I asked him, "Are you sure?" Because he turned out to be a pretty good baseball player. Are you sure you don't want to go play somewhere? And he said, I'll never forget. He said, "Dad, I can't think of anything more boring than standing in the outfield shagging baseballs without my friends."
Yeah. Yeah.
So he played for his friends and for his coach. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
I thought, how could I argue that?
Sure.
Because he was an outfielder, and you a lot of standing around in baseball.
Sure.
And if you don't have your buddies, if you have your buddies, anything's fun.
Right.
It can be fun.
Right.
And I was like,
that's a great
he's
answer.
right. I mean, his buddies weren't going to play at that school. Some were going to other schools. Some were not playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I can't argue that.
That's a good point.
So anyway.
Well, Scott, if you were to give a piece of advice to moms and dads who are trying to navigate, we'll go 2 questions. The youth sports, so just the elementary age. Say myself, Taya's in kindergarten, we're beginning the recreational league. What advice would you give me? And then we'll change it to what advice would you give a high school, mom or dad that's going into the 9th grade?
So for young kids, for Taya, I would say if they want to, play them somewhere, whether it's club, whether it's rec, whether it's travel ball all year round, just play them somewhere. Competition is probably my favorite word in the dictionary. And not only competition, but teamwork, listening to a coach, listening to, having to say yes sir, yes ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's such an underrated.
Listening to an official, a referee, having to play by rules. To me, that stuff is priceless for a kid.
Yeah.
It's not a job for them, but we all have bosses for the most part when we get older. I think sports is just great and all that. Friendships. If just play them somewhere, it doesn't matter if it's all the highest league, the platinum division, or the good Lord, the AAA, the majors, all that. I was there with all that. Just play them somewhere. If they're good enough, it'll work itself out by high school.
Yeah.
And then for high school, I think I would say this is trust the coaches.
Yeah.
And there's probably 15 football coaches. There's 4 baseball coaches. I used to tell when I had a parent meeting, I'm like, there's 4 sets of eyes deciding whether your son should be able to play as much as you want him to or not. And that was obviously always the conversation. Even though you always said we can't meet about playing time. It was always the conversation. And it always is the conversation. And every coach knows that it's the conversation. Right. So you're never going to outthink the coach who's been around kids. Trust the coaches. Talk to your kid. I would, most of the time kids, he's better than me, Dad, or she's better than me.
Sure, they know.
Or I'm better than him. But now, and if there is ever an issue, your son or your daughter, by the time they hit high school, they need to go do the talking to the coach.
Yeah.
And if they won't, they probably know the answer.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Right.
But that would be my advice for going on into 9th, 10th, high school.
Sure.
The fun chance to play varsity sports, which I think are awesome. I love high school sports.
Yeah.
I still love Friday Night Lights. I love it all.
Right.
And I will still go, for sure.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to the most about retiring?
Ooh. I don't know. That question has been asked to me by a lot of people. I'm definitely not retiring from working.
Yeah.
I'm just literally retiring to go start a new career. And I love teaching and coaching.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving because I can't stand the kids or I'm tired of the principals. I love all of that. I have great classes this year, got great athletes, got great administration. My wife's still in education. We still have Nate to come through the school.
Yeah.
I hate that the most, that I won't get to see him walk the halls at Legacy High School like I did my older two, because that's priceless.
Yeah.
But I think what I look to the most, this is my answer, is for the not first time, but betting on myself a little bit, I guess. And more importantly, trusting God to guide me, because I've done the same thing for 28 years. Every August, you're at school. Every June, you're out of school.
Yeah.
So I think I'm looking forward most to getting outside of education. Curiosity is killing me, basically.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
Did curiosity kill you, Todd?
No, you did. No.
Y'all have a similar story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I retired after 25 years
from
law enforcement.
Okay. Well,
And
awesome.
it's hard to get it out of the system. I don't know that it ever gets out of the system. You'll have teaching in your system, forever. But it's also it's rewarding. I so appreciate what you're saying, because when you say bet on myself, like I'm on the fly trying to figure out how the real world works.
Yeah, no, I don't have a clue, really.
Yeah,
to be honest,
and so all you know is what you know. But it's neat to kind of reinvent yourself and try to figure out a different way to do things.
Teaching, police, education. We pretty much guaranteed paychecks every month.
Exactly.
We have contracts. We have time off, pension. Like, I'm thankful for all that.
Yeah.
But I'm stepping.
It's very structured
into a world that's not structured at all.
Exactly, and that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
But you'll land on your feet the right way, where it's supposed to be, the way that I did. And
I'm excited. I was talking to an ex-teacher just about 2 weeks ago at my son's golf tournament, and she taught for like 17 years. She's like, I did not realize how hard teachers work.
Yeah.
And you can definitely say the same about law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I've never known anything different.
Right.
So
You don't know.
And I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
There are days, probably fewer now, but especially in the beginning, where I'm like, at 10 o'clock, where do you want me? And she's like, I don't know. I don't but that's how your
when
mind
the bell
is
rings,
wired.
it's time to perform.
Right.
Now I'm just like, there's not a bell. And
Right.
I can't be late. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
You'll be good.
so I guess, I don't know.
Scott, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Very
loved it.
good.
This is fun.
Yeah. 3 weeks to go.
Yeah, something like that. I don't count the days. I really don't know.
Yeah.
People ask me, do you count how many days left? I truly don't know.
Yeah.
I'll miss it. There's no doubt I'll miss some of it.
Well, we love our guests coming on and talking about these topics. Scott, you've been tremendous today, and wrapping up episode 39.
Yep.
Hopefully you get something out of these conversations that we're having, because it's not just us sitting up here talking, but we're trying to provide some expert opinions, which certainly applies to today. So again, thank you for being here, and looking forward to episode 40.
Yep. Come on, let's go. Thanks for watching, guys.
Have a great day.
Man, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing us ramble about youth sports or other strangely interesting sports topics related to families, please go and like and subscribe to the show so that you can get regular updates when a new podcast is released. We'd also love to connect with you. Head on over to our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We're under LC Sports and Recreation.
And if you're new to our podcast, go check out some of our previous episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's some good stuff on there. And pay attention, because these come out pretty quickly, weekly, as a matter of fact. And you're going to learn a lot about what we have to say with regards to our league and how to win with the home team.